On today's episode of Warehouse Safety Tips, we're going to be talking about navigating safety in factories and warehouses. So stay tuned.
Welcome to Warehouse Safety Tips. If you're a seasoned vodcast viewer, this vodcast is going to be different from most that you watch. It's based around exactly what the name implies, warehouse safety tips. And since the people in this industry are busy, we know that time is money, so each episode will be as short and to the point as possible. And now, with all that out of the way, let's get to the vodcast.
When it comes to navigating factories and warehouses, there are probably hundreds, if not thousands, of tips that we could provide you. Some of these tips we've provided in the past have been provided in the way of 5S methodology. Others have been topics on their own. So a couple of the things that we're going to talk about today have actually been covered in the past, but we do that anyway. We want to make sure that safety is always top of mind and that we're constantly reinforcing safety. So we have 5 tips for you today. These are by no means the 5, end all be all tips, but they're going to be a great way to get you started for navigating safely within your factory, warehouse, or just facility in general. The very first thing is going to be prioritizing clean and dry floors. Make sure, especially during winter and wet months, that you are always keeping your floors dry, and that is going to come in the form of something we're going to talk about a little later here, but making sure people go through and wipe their feet, dry their feet, that if there is a wet area that you either put a sign up to make sure nobody else slips, or that you've alerted somebody that is able to handle it, such as your maintenance crew, your cleaning crew, another staff member, and making sure that areas are constantly dried. That is going to be, again, putting out signs, making sure that there's mats, making sure that there's fans, and just making sure that areas are not only clean, but and free of debris that you could trip on and things like that, but that they're dry. It's going to be a major way to stop slips and trips and falls, which is a major part of accidents in facilities. So the second thing is going to be keeping those walkways and exits not only clean and dry, but also clear of clutter. So especially in the case of an emergency evacuation or a lift truck or people needing to get down an area, you always want to make sure that exits and walkways and anything where people or vehicles are going to be traveling, that they're always clear. Making sure that they're clear of debris, make sure that they're dry, and make sure that they're not wet to avoid the slips and trips, falls, slides of vehicles and things like that. The third thing is going to be a safe ladder use. Now, we could go into this as its own subject by itself, and I don't think that we necessarily have, but make sure that you always, first and foremost, make sure that the correct ladder is being used for the job that you're doing. So you want to make sure that you always have the right ladder for the right job. The next thing is going to be inspecting that ladder to make sure that everything is correct with it. No rungs are loose or broken. It's not rickety. It's not, got feet that are broken, anything like that. Going through and doing a 3 points of contact training, meaning that you always have 2 feet and 1 hand or 2 hands and 1 foot on rungs at all times. And then also making sure that that ladder is on level ground. And this isn't something that we necessarily covered in this particular broadcast, but it's not a horrible idea to have a spotter at the bottom of a ladder to make sure that it's not only not going to slide out or anything like that, but there are always things going on in a facility such as lift trucks and people walking around. You want to make sure that if someone's up on a ladder, someone doesn't come around and hit it. So if you can't actually have a person, make sure that you have pylons or something like that, or some sort of a area roped off so people know that there's someone on a ladder. The next thing is something that we cover all the time, and we mentioned it earlier in the broadcast, and that's training. Whether it's the 3-point process we just talked about, alerting people of a wet or cluttered area, or whatever it may be, training is absolutely vital. So make sure that you're always training your staff on the absolute best safety procedures, tips, and anything also that you're governed by, such as maybe OSHA or another regulator. And then last but not least, and this is something that we should mention on almost every broadcast, and that is having a safety culture or a culture of safety at your location. Make sure that people are almost gamified in the fact that being safe is something that they want to take active part in, looking for issues, proactively finding solutions at things that could happen, and reporting, and just making sure that you're always on that constant and never-ending improvement mindset when it comes to safety. If you do these 5 things, not only are you going to be on your way to having less trips, slips, and falls, ladder issues, or problems with cluttered areas, but you're also going to be well on your way to just an overall safe environment where you go to work safe and you go home to your family safe. And that's exactly what we want. So thank you for being part of another episode of Warehouse Safety Tips. We thank you so much. Go out, have a great day, be safe, and here is a word from one of our sponsors.
It's scientifically unexplainable. It's virtually indestructible. And it's taking over the entire planet. But in a really good way. It's Mighty Line floor tape, the most durable floor tape in the world. 7 times thicker than average floor tape. Beveled to endure pounding warehouse traffic. And backed with a super strong peel and stick adhesive, so you'll never have to worry about painting shop floors again. Mighty Line floor tape, the only durable stripe.